I'm Sophie.
And I'm Phaedra.
And this is My Best View.
Sophie, what was your best view this week?
My best view this week was one that you're highly aware of, which is the view of an enormous tapestry I just purchased. Tapestry kit. It's a replica of an antique Dutch tapestry on antique linen, and it's massive. By my calculation, 1.5 to 2% done. But it's looking so gorgeous. Every time I look at it, I'm like so excited to see it hang up on my wall someday.
It's so cute too because Sophie's making these like tiny little birds, and it's just like they are truly the size of 3 grains of rice put together. And it's like, oh, you have to do about 50 of those? Okay.
And I will be honest with you, I was 5 minutes late to this recording because I was finishing a little lemon.
There's lemons?
There's lemons. It's a lemon tree.
Wait, this changes everything. That's huge.
What was your best view this week?
My best view this week was a view I've been looking forward to for a while now, which is I saw through my phone, not in person, but I saw that some of my closest friends, Karina and Martin, got engaged.
Oh, yay.
Karina is one of my closest friends from university, closest 1 out of 2.
Nothing wrong with that.
This was during COVID times. I normally have more friends, but it's okay. Quality over quantity. Anyway, Karina, I love her so much. Martin, I also love by extension. And I'm just like so thrilled that they're getting married. And did it in such a classy way. They were literally like at a resort in Greece. And I was like, okay.
Do they listen to the pod?
We'll find out.
Okay, because I'm reserving my shout outs for people who listen or likely listen at least. If we find out they didn't listen, we're issuing a retraction next week.
Yeah, if they didn't listen, I'm not going to the wedding. So
I think that's more than reasonable. Shall we get into our discussion? This was a juicy episode. I'm really excited.
This shit was literally insane. It was a perfect example of an episode where I was like, fuck, I am so upset that me and Sophie are not in the same place watching this together because my jaw was dropped multiple times.
I know. Every single one was like a punch to the face or gut. I was like, whoa.
I can't wait to get into it. We are starting this episode with talking about Shea and Anabelle.
Just rip the Band-Aid off.
We open up on the morning after the last conversation where we saw the two, where basically it was revealed that Shea cheated on Anabelle.
Depending on your definition of cheating.
Yeah, it's not cheating if you enjoy it and you're just having fun at a party.
Which is what Shea, that's not a great impression of him, but that's his real internal vibe.
It's his essence.
Anyway, so Anabelle is fairly pissed and basically stonewalling him, which normally I don't condone, but I do in this moment because fuck Shea. Also, this is neither here nor there, but the section opens with Shea talking to his dogs and saying, Mommy Belle is angry. And that just gave me the biggest ick. Like, I just hate that he calls her that to other people. Freaks me the fuck out.
At some point, I really want to figure out, how did we land on Mommy Belle?
Oh my God, because she's his mommy.
Yeah, I guess.
They don't have kids together. Like, I don't know. Why is he calling her that? I think it's literally, that's how he sees her. Ew. So back to the stonewalling. Basically, because the cameras have showed up, the two of them are forced to talk. And Anabelle asks him what happened with the woman that he like kind of cheated on her with. And Shea says basically that, I don't remember, but I heard about it later. And basically he says that at a party about a month ago, he was a little bit too drunk and there was a girl that he knew and she had just gotten fake breasts and he asked to look at them and she showed her tits. And then Shea's like, yeah, but honestly, you overreacted to Anabelle.
I know. He said, that's just the kind of parties we do. It's like, well, some people do swinger parties. It's also cheating if your partner's not consenting.
I can't even jump into this yet. There's too much. And she's like, yeah, of course, you're cheating on me. Like, why would I not be upset about that? And he's like, it wasn't cheating. Anyway, just this circular argument where Shea is a fucking idiot. And Anabelle directly says to him basically that she's not sure if she wants to get married now. One thing that sucks about Anabelle is that she scrubs his penis. One thing that's awesome about her is she's incredibly direct and honest while being still respectful, but in a way where I'm like, oh girl, you could beat him to a pulp and I wouldn't give a shit. But I do appreciate her direct communication, even when she's obviously really upset. She's really not doing too much. She's like, yeah, you cheated on me. Why would I not be upset? And I don't know if I want to get married now.
Agreed. There was something he kept saying where he's like, the combination of I didn't do anything, and also, yeah, I don't actually remember what I did, and I was just told what I did later. So I'm like, so in theory, you could have done actually anything.
Yeah. Well, it's just the plausible deniability. I'm 100% sure that there are many things that he's done that he doesn't remember because he got too sloshed. I also believe that he consciously cheated on her many times. Like, I think it's a combination. I think he's a fucking liar. And to your point, he's not even good at lying. It's so inconsistent.
I know.
He's like, wait, is kissing another woman and asking to look at her boobs cheating?
I thought it doesn't count because she just got them done. There's a grace period where you can look at anyone's fake boobs for...
I forgot about that one. Shea now tells Annabelle, like, well, it's okay. You'll be able to relax today because, like, I've set up a spa day for you, Allison, and Angie. As a reminder, Allison is Shea's daughter, Shea's bitch daughter, and Angie is the daughter of his friend who his ex-wife said that he is, like, having an inappropriate relationship with.
Her two main ops.
I would literally freak the fuck out if he told me this, if I was Annabelle.
One of my favorite things was that she was like, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, okay, then you get to spend the day with me. And she ultimately goes to the spa instead.
You know what? She's like, well, at least I'm going to get my nails done out of this.
When I talk about this man, and I will say, thank God he was fully clothed this episode. It really did help that I could at least have a visual break. But just this whole thing, it gives me acid reflux. Just thinking about it, you know?
Definitely get your barf bags ready because this section is rough. In the next scene, Shea brings Annabelle to the spa and he comes in and like says hi to everyone. Annabelle meets Angie. This is her first time meeting this lady who, as far as you know, Shea has cheated with. So that's an awesome vibe.
Yeah.
And Shea tells Annabelle that he's going to take off. And she's like, you're not staying? And he's like, no, this is a spa day just for you guys. You can get a ride home with Allison, his daughter. And Annabelle had no idea about this and is like mad all over again. I'm like, Shea, what the fuck is... I don't know. That might not seem like a big deal, but that is really like, why would you not explain that you're not going to be there with her and you're just literally dropping her into this den of people that she hates?
Well, he just doesn't think about anyone but himself. It's very clear. So I'm not shocked.
So Shea walks out and is like to the camera, oh gosh, I can't do anything right. And I'm like, well, I do like this moment of clarity from him, but I think he meant it in a sarcastic way, not a reflective way. Anyway, so we're back in the moment with the three women in this nightmare spa situation. And Shea's daughter Allison asked Annabelle if everything's all right because things seemed a little bit tense between her dad and Annabelle. And Annabelle tells her honestly that they had a fight last night about Angie, and she points to Angie.
I was kind of gagged by that directness, but okay, I loved it.
So was Angie. She literally was like her eyes immediately were so big. She was like, what? And Annabelle says that Nicole, the ex-wife, said that Angie and Shea were having an affair. Did you see Angie's face here?
I was really trying to understand what emotions were on her face because I felt like it was 10 different things at once. It was a very intense expression.
Okay, for me going into this, I assumed 100% that Angie and Shea had some type of sexual thing going on given the ex-wife's comment. That is still possible, but Angie's facial expressions during this accusation, the number one emotions that I saw were shock and disgust.
Disgust. I was going to say disgust. Yeah, she was like, oh, me and him? Sex?
She was almost smiling, but in a way where I feel that it was like genuine disbelief and like, wait, you think I would get anywhere near that man? Are you kidding? Like genuine horror.
I agree. Yeah. There was an extreme intensity. And I think that level of intensity could only mean either she was getting caught or she was like beyond disgusted. And I think based on the vibe, it was leaning towards beyond disgusted. But also I feel like if in retrospect we learned they were hooking up, you could go back and read it as like, oh shit, how do I get
She
out of
couldn't
this?
believe that that was revealed. Or yeah, I could see it that way. Angie does say, I promise that is not true, Annabelle. Like, absolutely not, blah, blah, blah. And Annabelle asks Angie if Shea has ever tried to kiss her. And Angie says, no, like there's absolutely nothing between us, nothing like that. And I mean, assuming she's not lying, like assuming Angie is telling the truth, can you imagine if like your father's friend's new fiance accused you of like having sex or sleeping with? I would literally be like throwing up. Like, I don't know, that really would be horrific.
I know.
To her credit. And Annabelle continues and tells them that, okay, well, Shea cheated on me last month. Like, I just found that out. And Allison, his daughter, is so weird. She just says, with who?
She's like, which of the events are you talking about?
Yeah, interesting question. She was not like, even her expression, it wasn't like, what are you what? Like, what do you mean? She was just like, oh yeah, with who? It was crazy.
Her reactions were just really weird in this episode in general.
Very much so. Okay, we have Allison on one side who's just like, oh yeah, who doesn't seem to either give a shit or be surprised at all. And then Angie next to her, mouth agape. She is gagged. She's like, what? Like she's shocked. So it's very interesting that daughter is having one reaction and this person who doesn't live with him and etc. is having a very different one. She's very surprised. And basically, Annabelle tells him that another woman showed her fake boobs to him. And Allison and Angie kind of look at each other and like laugh in disbelief. And Allison says she did not know that. And Angie says, that rules me out, which was really funny.
That was funny. Because he was talking about big boobs. It was funny, yeah.
I do like Angie. Angie, you better not have done anything sexual or inappropriate with Shea, because honestly, you're my queen. Like, you were really funny this episode. I need you on more, but I hope that you're not actually a part of any of this cheating shit.
Yeah, I agree.
And so Allison basically just asks Anabelle if Anabelle will forgive Shea, and Anabelle says she doesn't know yet. Allison says that her dad doesn't have the best track record. So Allison now tries to like reassure Anabelle, but in a very interesting way. She says that Shea doesn't have the best track record, but wants to do the right thing and really does love Anabelle.
I know. I thought this was a very weird combination. And then she even said more later, which was like much more damning. But I just feel like she has this combination of protecting her dad, but also being like so willing to spill his secrets, where it's like, I don't really get what her positioning is here.
I know. I'm really excited to see more. To your point, there was more revealed, but this is basically all that's revealed to Anabelle directly.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that comment, we cut to an interview with Allison, the daughter. And Allison says that she's surprised that Shea told Anabelle that he cheated because she thought that she was going to have to be the one to tell Anabelle. So she already knew that like he was cheating in general. I do believe that she didn't know the story about the fake tits because she was kind of like, ew. She was like, yeah, I didn't know that one. But clearly she knew that this type of behavior is going on in general. And she says to the camera that she's seen him lie. I think the implication was to Anabelle over the phone. She just says like lie over the phone for years about, quote, who's there, how much he's had to drink, and what he's been doing. That's awesome. And basically she thinks that he just told a fraction of the truth, and Nicole, the ex-wife, knows more, has more dirt on him, as she says. And now we cut back in the moment with Anabelle. Anabelle asks Allison if there's anything else Shea's done that Allison knows about. And Allison says, no, I don't know anything else, which is a total lie. She just admitted to the camera she knew more.
The game theory here is very interesting to me. I guess Allison wants to stay loyal to her dad because he bankrolls her entire life. But I'm like, if that's the case, then you are doing a terrible job. Like, you need to keep your mouth shut. She shouldn't be like revealing anything about his cheating to anyone. Just, I'm saying from a game theory perspective, not from a moral perspective. And then from Shea's perspective, I'm like, if you know your ex-wife is about to tell her everything, why not get ahead of that?
If the truth is gonna come out anyway, I think that his theoretical game plan was to basically discredit Nicole behind her back, and like to the point where once Nicole gets to Anabelle, Annabelle's gonna be like, why would I believe you? I know that your character is flawed or whatever. Like, you're a liar. I feel like that's like a classic playbook of this type of cheater, but Shea is too stupid to even be able to do that. And he hasn't done it. And now he looks so suspicious, rightfully so. I mean, obviously he is a cheater, but he's not even good at it.
And the thing is too, he has a track record of being suspicious in ways Annabelle's already picked up on. So it's not like she's like, what? Nicole, like, what do you mean? He's so loyal. Like, I feel like Annabelle will believe anything about him because she already knows that he lies about how much he drinks and stuff like that. So I don't know. This whole thing is such a mess.
I love it. I literally love these two. I do feel bad for Annabelle, obviously, as a human being. And I really hope that I don't know what I hope for. I mean, if Annabelle wants to be in the US, for example, then okay, period. Get married, get that green card, and then leave him. I fully support her doing that. But I really just hope like she's strategic about this and fully informed.
I also like one other just like little thing that I think is a actually bigger theme on the show, but was funny when they brought it up here, was when Allison was like, do you forgive him? And it's like, okay, you cannot forgive someone for something that they're actively still doing.
And lying to you about, like, won't even admit really that they did.
The difference between, oh, he cheated on you once in the past, can you forgive him? And he's constantly cheating on you, can you forgive him? Very different situation. So like the fact that she even used the language of forgive, I'm like, what? Like, it's not forgive, that's more like overlook, ignore, etc.
Yeah, good point. I'm very curious to get to know more about Allison, the daughter. I definitely don't like her, but I find her very entertaining.
She makes great TV.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the rest of the storyline. And oh boy, Kentucky, what have you got cooking up over there?
I wouldn't be shocked if she was the one who like signed them up for the show.
Wait, yeah.
She's like so excited to be on TV. I feel like.
Have you seen her TikTok?
No.
It organically popped up on my For You page, this video of her basically like making a joke about like people saying that she's too dependent on her dad, but like being like, y'all are just mad because I get my bills paid, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, for sure, girl. That's what we're jealous. You're right. We're super jealous of your life.
We want to live in a trailer in Paducah, Kentucky next to that freaky situation.
But basically, like, it's very clear to me that she's doing social media shit. You know what I mean? Like she's not engaging with it.
No, she's got a little
engaging with,
strategy to her. I don't know what the strategy is, but she's definitely got some strategy to her. So I'm curious to learn more about that. Buckle up because
oh boy,
Debby and Mido are next, and they were a doozy this episode.
Insane.
Their section starts strong with Debby making a chore list, and Debby asks Mido if he can help with dishes, and he says he'll help but not with dishes because his hand sometimes hurts.
Oh, I've literally been doing dishes for multiple years of my life. My hand has never once hurt from doing dishes. What is he talking about?
I like legitimately have carpal tunnel and I can do dishes. It's really fine.
I've never heard that excuse.
And then she says, do you want to do trash instead? He says, no excuse, just no. And then he says his contribution will be that he'll just sleep. Also, this was very interesting. He then said to Debby, well, in Egypt, like women do all the household chores. And Debby, first of all, says, well, we're not in Egypt, so true. But also I'm like, okay, isn't the whole thing with the patriarchal cultures, the women stay home and then the men go out and make money? Whereas he wants her to stay home and do all the chores, but also provide financially for the family. So I feel like we can't be cherry picking in this way.
That's amazing to me. All he wants to do is be a trophy husband, basically. But it's like, bro, there's no trophy. You literally suck.
Well, also, but I'm like, I don't think that's the culture in Egypt. Like, if you're gonna blame it on, well, that's my culture. No, it's literally not. I know for a fact that's literally not how it works there. He just wants to be a little diva and sleep all day and go to acting class.
And you know what? The only person who's allowed to do that is Little Bit, not you, Mido.
There already is a diva in the family. I know. So at this point, also, Mido is just becoming even more brazen and open about his priorities. Like in an interview, he says, the number one priority in the US is my acting career. I'm like, okay.
What is up with the deeply unstrategic men? Like Shea and Mido. I'm just like, what is the logic here? You're not good at this.
I know. And that's the thing. That's where I'm talking about the difference between what I think is good versus like the game theory or the strategy. I'm like, you're doing neither. You're not performing in a way that feels moral and you're not doing a good job of it. Like, anyway, we meet a very exciting new character this week. Mido's acting coach, who he calls Jimmy, but then the guy introduced himself as Jim.
What is up with people giving these cute little nicknames like Brandon to Brandy, Jim to Jimmy? It's very strange.
I like Jimmy more, but I actually think the man's name is Jim.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I already followed him on Instagram.
Thank God. On his way to his acting class, Mido says to Debby, don't forget the dishes, okay? And I was like, hey, go fuck yourself.
Literally. He said also like, oh, thanks for finding my acting coach for me. So it's like, dude, can you literally do anything? She's doing everything for you. It's pissing me off.
I know. I hate him so much. So Mido was nervous because he's never acted in English before. And he's on his way to acting class. And this acting class was funny as fuck.
It was very much giving act on demand improv.
I was thinking the same thing. Love just like a colorful troupe of adults trying something new. And Mido was like really trying to brand himself as like the expert in the class, but he is just not really participating the way that other people are. At one point, they're like doing this exercise where they have to read a script. And he's like, can I do something different? And the teacher's like, no.
It's like, absolutely not.
In acting, there's a director and you do have to do what the director says.
Imagine showing up for your scene on like an actual shoot and be like, can I just like try something totally different? Can I just like do a fully different scene right now that you didn't write?
Something that also took me a minute to process, when he finally agrees to do the scene as written, the point of the scene was it was like basically random quotes just stuck together and you had to add emotion to like make it represent something else.
Yeah, classic theater vibes.
And you're a worm. Okay, it took me forever to figure out what was happening because he started saying this sentence I couldn't follow. The other people were talking about 7 years ago. What he read was supposed to be that. But it was talking about like 4 stores and 7 something. And he was like saying a totally random sentence.
Oh my God.
It was so botched. It was hilarious. At the end of the class, there's an interview with Coach Jim and he says he would give Mido a C+.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay, shady. I love Jim. He's quite a character.
Like at the end of the class, Mido and Jim have this one-on-one conversation. Mido asks Jim if he thinks he should move to Hollywood. And Jim basically tells him no. And like one thing Jim keeps reiterating throughout the class, not just to Mido, but in general, is that like succeeding in acting, it's a combination of your talent, but also opportunity, luck, circumstance. Like there are a lot of talented people. We all know very few of those make it big.
Yeah, like even at the beginning of the class, the way that Mido introduces himself to the group is that he's like, I'm Mido. I want to be a famous Hollywood actor.
I want to be a big star. Yeah.
And Jim immediately goes, as do we all. And everyone kind of laughs. And it's like, yeah, Mido, like, I mean, it's great to have a dream and like to pursue it, like go full speed. But the hubris is so large to think that like you would be the only one to succeed because you're the first person who actually thought of doing it. It's so funny.
Hey, have you guys thought of moving to Hollywood? I bet that's all it takes. You idiots are still in New Orleans. Jim also tells him, like, you know, if you want to be an actor, it is important to do other jobs on the side to make money. And he asked Mido if he had a side job in Egypt. And Mido says yes.
The tour guide stuff.
Yeah. So Jim's like, okay, so you need to also have a job here. And he basically says he doesn't want another job because it will pull focus from acting and he knows Debby will support him.
Girl, this type of creative man is such an archetype. This person who thinks like, no, I'm above having a day job or, you know, being able to sustain my own self and pay for groceries, etc. Because basically like this exceptionalism, thinking like, no, you people are lazy and aren't trying hard enough. And like I actually care about my art and that's why I'm going to dedicate myself fully to it. And it's like, yeah, okay, so you're going to die. Like you're going to literally starve to death. I don't know. It's a very particular type of creative man that exists definitely outside of Mido.
He reminds me, I know you haven't seen this show, but he reminds me of a less likable, which is saying something, version of the character Adam from Girls. Because like there's one scene early on where he's talking about how, you know, he's a creative and all this stuff and that he doesn't want to work like a bullshit capitalist job. And then it like is revealed that his grandparents support him financially. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that thing where it's like, I don't want to be a corporate shill. I just like also want someone else to support me.
Yes.
Kind of that is reminding me of this, where he's like, he's just above working in a store or something.
I can't.
It pisses me off too with this because I'm like, I don't know Debby's situation, but she doesn't seem to be like over the top wealthy.
No.
If you want to marry a Rockefeller and do this, fine. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah, I
don't know. It just, I hate it on so many levels. So next we see them getting ready for a haunted house because it's Halloween, which is fitting because this is a very spooky episode. They're wearing these like horrific, like polyester faux Egyptian Halloween costumes, very Trisha Paytas.
Oh my God. That's who they reminded me of.
And they're going to meet Debby's friends, Laura and Astra, who we already know and love.
By the way, doesn't Laura Astra sound like the name of some 3-year-old girl in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I see it.
I feel like I've met her at the playground.
Anyway, already on the way to meet these friends, the vibe's already bad because Debby is like, oh, are you like nervous to meet my friends? Like, and he's like, no, why would I be? And he basically like doesn't give a fuck.
He's immediately so confrontational too. To your point, she's like, I'm nervous for you to meet them. And Mido's like, why? What do you mean?
As if it's not just a normal thing. Like you're meeting people, like even if you know it's going to go well, there's a little feeling of like, oh, I hope they get along, you know?
I just really want to emphasize, like from the bat, he is trying to start a fucking fight with Debby because he's just fighting her back on things that are just like, obviously he understands. Like he's just being so confrontational just for the purpose of being confrontational.
Yes, I agree. Also, just a side note, I probably could not think of a funnier setting to meet your friend's partner for the first time than a haunted house.
It's amazing. Fuck bowling. You're like trying to ask them about like where they grew up and it's just like someone's jumping out at you.
You know, all those memes or like those videos on TikTok that are like, you know, I'm trying to break up with you, but like, or you're breaking up with me, but like my margarita has a tahini rim or whatever. And they're like, you know, making jokes with that. It's like, I'm trying to meet your new boyfriend, but we're at a haunted house. And a really freaky thing happens when Mido enters the haunted house, which is the spirit of Hollywood enters his body and takes over. And all of a sudden he is like on in a really weird way, but the energy is only focused at the haunted house performers.
And the camera by extension.
Yeah. Although to be fair, the camera's always with him. He's been a dick in front of the camera before.
True. He's acting like Jimmy Fallon or something in this fucking haunted house. He's basically interviewing the performers.
And like there's one part where there's like a person like, you know, digging out the intestines of like another body, quote unquote, and he goes, it's amazing.
And he goes, delicious. Also, for example, at one point, someone like a performer jumps out at them, but like behind like a glass wall, you know, like jumps at the wall, and Mido goes, hello, and like waves at them.
And he keeps being like, I like that. Or like he's like this really weird, like,
contrarian energy. Like, oh, was that supposed to be scary?
you guys are scared. I loved it.
You know what vibe this was giving me? It was giving me like when you're in elementary school and the 8-year-old boys are like, oh, is it raining? Oh my God, it feels hotter than when the sun's out. And they're like in their flip-flops and their shorts and they're like, oh my God, I'm sweating. Did you not know this type of boy?
I don't think I experienced that specific
maybe
thing.
maybe it's not a human universal. Shout out to Hayden.
Just one person.
Like, you know that thing when
It's just one autistic child.
but like basically just trying to be like, oh, this isn't getting to me. Like, I'm built different. Like this type of like.
To me, it was like a specific variation of pick me that I never heard of before. Where it's like, oh, you've heard of the male gaze? How about the haunted house employee gaze?
The fellow actor.
It was also very Fiancé from Arrested Development.
Yes, he's like, actually, you and me, you can't tell because I'm in a Halloween outfit just like all these other idiots, these laymen behind me. But actually, I'm your peer. I'm a fellow actor.
I'm one of you.
I went to acting class today
With Jimmy, you know him?
Actually, Jimmy is in costume at the haunted house. He's one of the
Fuck
workers.
this guy again.
Fuck.
But already the friends are like, haha, it's like Mido's auditioning for this. Haha, maybe we'll see you here next year. Like, he's just very obvious in the way, like, he's turning his charm, if you can call it that, on and off. And, like, the specific audience he's playing towards is so interesting.
Who is it? I don't know.
I don't. And then Debby says in an interview, and it's true, she says, Mido's acting more entertained and having a blast with the performers in the haunted house than he is as far as being with me and the group of people we came with.
Like, Debby, that is damning. That is so weird.
I know. And then, like, you know, Laura and Astra say that they could tell it was kind of an act because, like, he wasn't super friendly up front. And then all of a sudden he's, like, really pouring his heart into these haunted house interactions.
Also, because he's a bad actor. That's why they could tell he's acting, because it's obvious.
So afterwards, already he's back to his, like, sour grapes, bad vibe.
They walk out of that haunted house and he powers down. He literally stops talking to anyone and he's like,
My shift's over, clocking out.
basically pulls out a cigarette. Like, I was just like, damn.
Yeah. And, like, also the friends are commenting on the fact that, like, you know, usually a haunted house could be a good opportunity to be, like, a little flirty and, like, protect the person you're with. They are walking 10 feet apart. He does not give a shit if Debby lives or dies. He is just focusing on his fellow artistes.
Yes.
So they decide to go for a drink after, and one of the friends, I think Laura, drives in the car with them. And it's just super awkward because it is complete silence, except for Debby and Laura having this super awkward small talk. Literally like, oh, I can't believe it's only 73 degrees. It feels hotter than that. Oh, actually, it says 79. Oh, that makes more sense. Like, that's literally the conversation. I mean, the vibe is not good. Just to be clear, it's not a situation where the two friends are talking and they have their usual vibe and the boyfriend's just silent, which happens and that's fine and sometimes preferred.
Yeah.
The vibe is not good. Nobody is being able to be interactive because he is creating such a negative atmosphere with his weird, bad energy.
Yep.
And so Laura gets out of the car when they get to the bar, but the two of them stay in the parked car for a little while longer, and Debby just starts crying and she says she's so frustrated, and he's like, if anyone's frustrated, it should be me. Like, he just loves to, like, not listen to her and then, like, spin it around, and, like, he is out here saying whatever. I mean, it is
crazy.
I know. And then, like, it's just really bizarre. Like, she's having this conversation and we understand as viewers why this conversation needs to happen because consistently he's not putting in effort, he's not treating her kindly, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so mean to her. Like, he's escalating it to yelling and name calling in this way, which is so unfair when she is, like, bringing up legitimate, fair concerns.
Yep.
You know, like, he's not trying with her friends. He's not making an effort in general. And, like, he just escalates this to just, like, be cruel towards her in a way that it's just, like, very clear that he actually hates her.
I know. It's really tough to watch. He's so bad at it, too, because he doesn't have a good argument. He's not even good at being manipulative.
Just be like, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Actually, you are.
Well, actually, I'm mad now. And he just, do you know what I mean? Like, he's like, why are you frustrated? I'm the one who should be frustrated. It's like, why? Like, he doesn't even have like a cohesive narrative, even if it were fucked up. Like, he really just has no argument. He's just like being contrarian to be a bitch for no reason.
Just a
it's
brat.
so strange. Yeah.
So Debbie, at this point, like, she really escalates. Like, I was really proud of her. She said, I don't know what you're doing here because I don't think you love me. He goes, okay, give me flight and I'll return back.
Dude, it's as if he's looking for that release. But I'm like, legitimately, why are you here right now if you genuinely want to go back this bad? You could at any time.
I think he just like, damn, I'm not, Jim told me I'm not going to make it in Hollywood. I guess I might as well go back.
Is it? I don't know. Also, I just want to emphasize, like, we're not obviously going beat by beat through the argument. Highly recommend you watch it because it was crazy. It was really insane to watch. But like, literally at one point, he's like, fuck you. Like, he's being really fucking rude. He calls her a bitch at one point. He was such a cunt. Yeah.
I know. Debbie says something to him, which is a new permanent vocal stim for me. I'm going to be saying this to people who have no idea what I'm referencing. She says, you can fuck that slut in Egypt, but you can't be compassionate with me.
Dude, is this a black, blue versus white gold dress situation? Because I heard something completely different.
What did you hear?
I heard, which didn't make sense to me. So yours actually makes more like sentence structure sense. But I heard you can act that smug in Egypt, but you can't even be compassionate to me. No,
I had my captions on. I had closed captions on. It was, you can fuck that slut in Egypt, but you can't be compassionate with me. I thought he was a virgin. What are we talking about? Clue me in.
Hey. So we've both been lying. Wait, I was already gagged without knowing that's what she said. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's that actress, isn't it? Remember how she was so upset about like
the actress on a social media. I know. But I was like, ooh. But the thing is, the problem is now if someone is like slightly rude to me, I'm literally going to say this. They're going to be like, what?
You're going to say, you can fuck that slut in Egypt, but you can't even be compassionate to me?
What?
Eh?
So at this point, she's done. She gets out of the car and she tells everyone, aka her friends who are waiting outside the bar for her, and also the production, she says, he's going home. And everyone is like so gagged. I would have loved to be a bystander. Just like, you know, I don't smoke, but like imagine you were smoking a cigarette outside the bar at the time. I'd be like, ooh, lingering.
I would literally start filming them.
Fake phone call. So he, at this point, escalates even further and he's yelling at her and he says, or screams things like, you're a bitch, shut your mouth. And Laura and Astra, they secure their position in the 90 Day Fiancé Friend Hall of Fame because they defend her hard with no hesitation. And then so he's like yelling, you know, he's like, shut your mouth. And they're like, don't tell her that. And then he starts yelling at the friends and Astra says, like screams, you don't talk to me like that either. And then she goes, oh, this was the best. Do not raise your voice at me. That's not how you treat women in America, motherfucker.
I'm getting chills down my spine.
That's the energy we need.
And Asha, you just had a moment that like every friend has fantasized about if your friend has a bad boyfriend. Like you,
it was cathartic.
I'm so sad that you and your friend and everyone there are going through this, but like you ate that the fuck up. Like you should be proud of yourself.
I agree. And then like the final little interaction I loved was Astra then goes to Debbie and says, I'm sorry for yelling at your new husband. And Debbie said, that's not my new husband. And Astra says, okay, good, because fuck that guy.
Oh my God, ladies.
And listen, loving the energy, also from Debbie, loving that she stood up for herself, but
nervous.
I'm scared. I would have, let me say, just knowing how this show works, I would have loved to see this in like episode 18. I'm a little scared that it's only episode 6. That leaves time for like 3 more roller coaster loop-de-loops. And I'm wondering if there's, because listen, I'm just assuming it doesn't end with Mido goes back tomorrow. And then that's the end of that. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Given that Catie and Josh are still on day 2 or 3 since he arrived in America and this is episode 6, I think that they would spread this out if this was truly the end, to your point.
I agree. And I am left wondering how we crawl our way back from here. A screaming match in a parking lot where all your friends were witnesses / participants.
Dude, imagine them at the wedding. Just like,
congrats. Mido, ever since the day we met you at the haunted house, we always knew you were the perfect match for our friend. No, I mean, like, and this is something that's so difficult. Is like, when your friends hate your partner, and by the way, it's me, I'm the friend who hates the partner, like, and they hate them for such a concrete reason. And these are like feisty, fiery friends.
Yeah.
I do not see how Debby is going to be able to justify giving this man another chance to these women. And I'm so, so worried that somehow the relationship is going to come at the expense of these friendships, because these are like solid friends.
I was totally thinking the same thing. I really am nervous about this.
I don't see how you come back from this the first time meeting your friend's partner and it becomes crystal clear that not only are they not into your friend, they're using her for something, and they have yelled at her and you.
Right.
I mean, that to me, I'd be like, okay, he is dead to me. There's no point in discussing this further ever. We're done.
Yeah. I don't care like what you do that's nice outside of this. Like if you try to make it up to me, like I have seen enough about your character that I like a line has been crossed that can't be uncrossed.
I agree. And unfortunately, sometimes situations like this do result in the partner, in this case, Debby, just becoming kind of isolated from their friends, because like the friends are like, that person's dead to me. And then you're like, well,
but they're not to me. Yeah.
So I'm worried about that.
It's
I really, really
messy.
hope that there's a different way forward. And I will say, not to be too like influenced by what we're seeing outside of the show, but Debby's been posting a lot of things that are like, back off, don't talk about him like that, don't talk about us like that, in a way where I'm kind of like,
no, girl.
I feel like if they weren't together, she would be more receptive to that, perhaps. But I'm wondering what she'll post after this episode. I think this was really hard to justify.
And it's out there. We all seen it. And girl.
This shit was not like spliced together. Like it was very clear what happened here.
Yeah. And like I do feel that this is a form of like, if not abuse, it's just so clear that they have such a deeply unhealthy dynamic together. Like they just, no one should ever be screaming at you, period. But especially not also, like this is just way too much too fast. Like, I don't know. This is an insane fight to have.
Also, this type of fighting, it wasn't like fighting about a topic. It was like, you're a bitch.
Right. Also, as far as we could tell, neither Debby nor Mido had even a drop of alcohol. It's not even like, oh, this is a stupid drunk fight, which even that I don't know if I would feel differently, but you can't even give it that type of excuse. This was sober mind, sober heart, sober words. It was gross. It was disgusting.
It was an incredibly tough watch, but I love to see Debby fighting back, and I love the friends fighting back, and I want more of that.
Yes, absolutely. Debby, don't disappoint us, but I think you will.
We'll see.
Up next, we have Catie and Josh, and oh my goodness, another interesting section, baby. Basically, Josh and Catie are waking up in their new apartment. Josh says that sleeping sucks because of the tiny twin mattress and the garage door that's beeping all night long. And they look pretty rough, the two of them. The previous day were super hungover. This day have not slept well. I can like feel the headache they are both experiencing. It is making me nauseous.
Yeah.
And Josh tells Catie that he's made a list of essentials versus some nice to haves for the apartment. Like, you know, for example, furniture. And Catie is already being kind of weird because she's like, do we really have to get those all today instead of just essentials? And Josh is like, well, yeah, I think we should just get them all today. Why not? And this starts a really interesting theme of this episode where in a couple interview, Josh tells the camera that he wasn't expecting for the apartment to be unfurnished as it's the first unfurnished apartment he's moved into. But Catie kind of throws up her arms in frustration while he's saying this. And he's like, what? And she's like, how could you expect it to be furnished? And he explains that in the UK, that's how it is. And things are just different. Like it's a different culture. And Catie says that she thinks he wants everything to happen right away and be done right now, but she's doing the best she can.
But also, just like going back to the whole furnished thing, she was acting like he expected them to be living in a hotel or something where she, like, but like it is reasonable. In some contexts, you get a furnished apartment. That's what he thought. I thought it was very telling that she couldn't be like, oh, that's too bad that you thought that. I see why it would be confusing. She's like, why would it be furnished? In this way, it just felt really invalidating. And I was like, I don't know, that it was a small interaction, but her tone was so like, I didn't like it. It really made it seem like he said something crazy. And I thought what he said was misguided, but reasonable, you know?
It does set a certain tone that is repeated throughout. So we now see them back in real time sitting down for breakfast of scrambled eggs and what appears to just be raw spinach leaves, which I thought was interesting. And they sit down to eat this on a yoga mat that's just on the concrete floor, just haphazardly put down in the kitchen. That was rough.
The fact that we found a dining situation worse than Thomas and Paula's was crazy to me.
And really funny that this like unfurnished or underfurnished apartment is a thing happening for multiple couples this season. That is so random. It's that and alcoholism. Those are the themes of the season.
Yep.
So basically, while they're eating, Josh now runs the list by her of things that they should buy. And he mentions that he wants to buy a dining table and chairs. And Catie says that they don't need that. And she says that the setup they have right now is comfy. And this is where I go, okay, Catie, why are you pulling a Mido? Why are you just being contrarian for contrarian's sake? Because obviously you're not comfortable right now.
I know. And he's like, my back hurts. And she just doesn't accept that.
And Josh says, well, it's something that I would like to have. Because she says at one point, well, we don't need that. In the past, we've just eaten breakfast sitting on the couch. And he's like, oh, yeah, but like, to be honest, like, and I assume he means because this is our apartment together. Like, this is just something that I would like to have. Mm-hmm. And she just says, that's stupid.
I was like, Catie, I'm really trying to find a kernel of goodness in you that I can go off of to like understand your relationship more. But now we just escalated or de-escalated, whatever, to like being mean. And I don't like that.
Catie was really mean to Josh this episode overall.
Yeah.
In response to her saying that it's stupid that he wants this thing, Josh tells Catie that she thinks that he just wants to spend his money as quickly as possible, but that's not the case, and he feels like she's treating him as stupid. And Josh in an interview acknowledges that in the UK, he grew up with this certain safety net when it comes to money. For example, if he broke his arm, he could just go to the doctor and go home and it wouldn't ruin his family financially. And I'm like, ugh, way to brag. But he acknowledges that in the States, it's different. And that's a polite way to say it. And he says that he respects Katie's attitude towards money because when it's gone, basically you can get fucked really quickly in the US. But he doesn't like being micromanaged. And Josh, this is like a really genuinely kind way to look at how Catie is treating you, because I don't think it's wrong, but no, I do think it's wrong. Because it's like
there's a difference between being a little more conscious about money and being like pathologically frugal. Mm-hmm. Like, she's reminding me of that other TLC show, potential crossover, Extreme Cheapskates, where they're like showering in their clothing so that they can have a shower and a washing machine experience in one. And you're like, okay, we don't need to be doing all that. Like, that is like a mental illness. There's a difference between saying, okay, we don't have to go to like, Design Within Reach and pick a super expensive set. But like her being like, well, we can just lay on the floor. Like, there's something really pathological here that I feel like, although I appreciate him being trying to understand her, I'm like, yeah, but this goes beyond she's just good with money or even sparing with money. And it really approaches a different territory for me.
I agree. Also, maybe this is too far, but this kind of leads into a conversation where Catie is complaining about how they really don't have a lot of money. And I understand, like, she probably is feeling some pressure because she's going to be the person, from now on, who has to make money for the both of them now, for two people, which just is a lot of pressure. I understand. I've gone through it myself, having gone through this type of green card process with my spouse. So I really do get it. There is something interesting about how she's complaining pretty fairly about not having enough money. Like, rent's expensive, grocery prices are going up day by day. And like, she's just feeling that pressure, which most of us are in this country. Very, very valid. However, she's also going out to the bar and getting drunk as fuck.
That's such a good point.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I am having to be extra frugal these days because of those reasons. The first thing I don't do is go out for alcohol in particular. I will drink at home because if I go out with tip and everything in America, that shit's expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
Yesterday, on someone else's credit card, my mommy and daddy, God bless them, me and my husband went and joined them for drinks somewhere. I got one beer. It was, I think with tip, the beer was $15.
I knew you were going to say $15. I know.
What I'm just trying to say is, like, Catie, you really do seem to be picking and choosing what you'll spend your money on in a way that I find very illogical, because I would rather have a mattress even on the floor that fits me and my spouse and a place to eat our food than go out and get obliterated to the point that I cannot remember how I got home. Now they get in the car to go get furniture, and Catie basically says that she doesn't agree with how Josh likes to spend money. For example, the other day he spent $400 on sunglasses. And I just want to say, unfortunately, that is not crazy.
That is how much glasses cost, unfortunately.
Especially if you got like 2 pairs, which also wouldn't be unreasonable, and not to be too logistics, but like if he has a prescription, if he had to replace the lenses,
easily, yeah.
That shit's expensive. Like, I don't know. I have been looking for new sunglasses and I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize I had to put down a down payment. And Josh gets a little upset, I think fairly, and says that he doesn't want to be micromanaged and judged for that, especially given that he's been extremely patient with her, especially when it comes to the stuff she's been doing with other guys. And he asks for some trust with the finances, and she says that he just wastes money. And I'm like, whoa. Like, okay, normally, I guess on paper, I wouldn't like Josh being like, oh, well, you do this thing. But I actually really hear him about, he's saying, I am giving you patience and grace, and you are not reciprocating that to me. And that's why he's upset. And I actually think that's fair.
Especially when the theme was trust. Like, she's basically saying, I don't trust you with money. And he's like, we need to figure out what our definition of trust is, basically. Like, I did think it was fair here. Right.
I think that emphasis on that's what he's upset about. It's not like he's like just throwing in her face, like, you think I'm bad with money? Well, you're kissing other guys, which, I mean, in itself, I don't think that's unfair. But he's like, dude, I'm trusting you that we're working through that together. And then you're literally not doing that for me right now.
Yes.
And like the way that she's like, well, you waste money. Like, she's not hearing him in a really frustrating way. I don't know.
I know.
I hated the way that she was like not listening to him and immediately steamrolling him. Would that be the correct term?
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, we get more into it. So they get to the store and they start their furniture shopping now and just are immediately bickering back and forth. And Josh asks if they can just focus on buying furniture right now. He's like, can we just focus on this thing that we're here for? I don't want to keep going back and forth. And Catie does point out a particular couch and she says, oh, like, how about this one? This looks like it could be nice. But she said that because Josh can't work right now, that this is expensive and maybe this is something they can save up for and not buy right now exactly, because she says that they can't afford it. And Josh says that actually he saved up $2,000 to $3,000 in UK pounds to save for this type of moving expense. And he's happy to spend some of that money on something like a couch. Like, he considers that important. And he's like, that's what the money is for. But he said that he thinks that if they do that, Catie will have an aneurysm. And Catie has a really immature response. She says, well, you said you're the house husband. You have all the time in the world. So figure out how to get cheap furniture then.
I know.
It was so spiteful.
I also there's obviously more to say on the dynamic, but something that kept coming up for me in this episode is like, you have got to be aligned on what money means to you and what money is to be used for. Because she kept being like, well, we can get stuff for free, I'm sure. And like, look, it is definitely worth like going on to Facebook Marketplace, a Buy Nothing group. Like, you never know. Maybe someone in your neighborhood is like giving away an amazing dining set. Like, it's definitely worth glancing. I agree with that. But her tone wasn't like, oh, well, like, before we spend money, let's just check. It was like, well, we're stupid to spend money when there's definitely stuff we can get for cheaper for free. And like, this is one thing I feel strongly about. But the point is, you should be with someone who feels the same way. I feel like to some degree, money is meant to be used to make our lives easier and better. Yes, you want to save up, you want to be smart, you don't want to spend frivolously. But if your back hurts and having a chair would make your back hurt less, that is exactly what money is for.
Yes.
And you're allowed to say, you know what? Every day it would put me in such a good mood to wake up and see a beautiful matching set of table and chairs that I love, as opposed to like 4 random broken ones we got for free on the side of the road. Like, you are allowed to assign financial value to the beauty that would bring. And I hate when people ascribe spending money at all to being irresponsible.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be stupid if you went to some like designer showroom and spent $15,000 on a table and chairs. I agree with that. But like, anything in the IKEA range, I think would be a reasonable thing. And like, I just find it so odd. It's like the people who want to travel and they're like, okay, you know, if we take 16 different train connections, it will only cost us 30 euros. And then we can stay in this hostel where you like stay in a pod and it's really loud and dirty. And it's like, well, maybe if I did that, I would have a horrible time and any money spent would actually be wasted.
Yep.
Because the whole thing would be shitty, you know? And like, those people, one thing I dislike about them, let me make generalizations. So often people who have a relationship to money like that, they're so condescending towards people who want to spend money in more generous ways, because they're like, oh, you're so stupid. Like, I remember once when I first moved here, there was a guy in my grad school who was like spending like $150 a month on rent because he was in a shared like bunk bed room of 12 people.
Ew.
And he goes, honestly, why would you spend any more than that? It's just, a home is just a place where you sleep and keep your stuff.
Not to everyone.
And I was like, not to me. And like, if that's your perspective, that's fine. But like, how dare you act like I got scammed by like having a home that means something to me, you know? Yeah. And I think that's the thing I find frustrating with these type of people sometimes, is that they'll be like, I said this before, but like just that she's so like, oh my God, like you think we need a dining table? Like I hate that.
It's
like
not crazy.
you are allowed to spend money to make your life better. That is truly what money is for, if not anything else. I mean, I don't understand this at all.
Me neither. I really don't get it. But it's not even like she's like, oh, well, I've looked at our floor plan and we have a very limited amount of space. Essentially, I think we need to choose between having a proper dining table setup or having a proper couch living room setup. Which one do we want to do? Like, it's not like productive like that, where it's like, okay, these are our constraints. Let's decide this together and like be like, let's make that decision together. It's like, no, that's stupid to even want that in the first place. And it's like, well, that's disrespectful and also wrong. You can't say that to someone.
Her tone, it's like, I'm just thinking about those enormous massage chairs at Costco that like massage your entire body at once. And they're like the size of an entire room. And I'm imagining him being like, I want that. And if I were her, I'd be like, that's stupid.
Right. Like,
no.
It's so different.
But it's like, hey, May, it's like a little Oliver Twist. He's like, may I please have a chair? And she's like, no.
It's truly not ridiculous. Like, after she says this comment about like, how about you figure out how to get cheap furniture, then Josh is like, okay, I don't want to keep fighting like this. We're just going around in circles. Let's just go home if you're going to be like that. And then they leave.
And then when they're in the car, the fight continues and she calls him demanding, which I thought was really mean because so far his demands have felt quite reasonable. And then she starts kind of, in my opinion, weaponizing the fact that she's been doing so much for him, like driving him places.
Catie, he literally can't drive. You're not doing something nice for him. Like, this is what you signed up for.
I'm so sick of people wanting credit for doing things that are like basic. It's like, honestly, I'm not saying they have a parent-child relationship, but parents who are like, be grateful. I gave you shelter and clothing. And it's like, yeah, like that's legally the expectation that you would do that. I mean, like, yeah, it's even funny when you sponsor someone for a visa, like you're literally telling the US government, like, I am legally responsible for this person's well-being.
I'm taking care of them
like,
in some ways how a child would. Like you are making sure that they don't die and like you're financially responsible for them if something happened, etc.
And so it's so funny to quite literally opt into that and then be mad about it, especially when like the things she's done for him, it's like driving him around in her Prius. I'm like, okay, like,
also, mind you, this is day 3, 4 max. It hasn't been very long of you driving him around. Also, you've been driving him to stuff that you guys are doing together.
I know. Yeah. And then they're in the car and she says, quote, the immigration stuff, this was your idea. I wasn't ready for that.
Catie.
He said, well, we talked about it and you said you were, so that's on you.
Yes.
This shit had me truly gagged.
Because also essentially her saying that she's not ready for the immigration stuff means that she's not ready to get married to him.
To be engaged. Yeah.
That is so hurtful. I mean, it's okay if that's true. Obviously, you shouldn't do something that you're not ready for. But it's like, dude, I really feel like there were so many opportunities for you to bring this up before this point.
I agree.
I bet that Josh has quit his job and stuff. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, that's brutal.
And this is one too where it's like, I'm just seeing such a big maturity gap. And like, I honestly, it's hard for me to be so critical of them because I honestly feel like I like them as people, you know, from what I've seen about them. And I find them in many ways sympathetic. And I just struggle with these kind of like unproductive, unkind conflicts. Because where do we go from here? You know, I mean, look, I still see room for them to have a truly wonderful maturing arc in terms of their dynamic. But for now, I'm not seeing that in the current
iteration.
Yeah. And I hope for that because what I'm seeing right now does trouble me.
Me too. I hate the way that Catie is so quick to resort to cruelty and completely disregarding Josh's wants and needs. I think that it's really mean, and to walk back. I hope at the very least she didn't mean this. It was just like she was trying to be spiteful. I hope so, honestly. Saying that like basically she doesn't even want him here. Like she doesn't even want him to live with her, to marry her. I honestly don't know how you come back from that. I'm like, that is genuinely fucked up.
I know. There was also one little moment I wanted to mention that I forgot. When they were talking, like he keeps being like, I don't get why we need a chair. And he keeps being like, I am in physical pain sitting on the floor. Like I need, you know. Yeah. And then when she goes, well, you should maybe stretch or exercise. I would have slapped her across the face. What? The idea of your partner expressing that they are physically in pain and you being like, well, stretch.
Not to always like bring it back to my relationship, but my husband was getting really bad back pain and we tried sleeping without the really comfortable mattress topper, and that hard fucking mattress made his back pain go away. Like he was having to take a week off of work because he couldn't go in and do it. Like he was in like having muscle spasms and shit. Every day my back hurts a little bit more because we're sleeping on this hard fucking mattress. You know what? I'm so happy every day to feel my little bit of back pain because it's not debilitating. He was in debilitating pain and we could just do this simple thing and he's no longer in pain, and that makes me happy. Even if it's a little bit more uncomfortable for me. I get joy from that.
That's what it is to be in any sort of relationship. It's give and take, you know? Also, I'm manifesting a sleep number partnership for us. I want to get you guys one of those 2-zone beds.
Dude, that is actually a fantasy.
Sleep number, please send us a bed.
Please, please, please. My back hurts. But yeah, to your point, like I don't think that these are unresolvable issues. Catie, I am still hoping for the best from you, but you got to turn it around. You got to start showing us your good side, mama. This has been a rough couple weeks. I know for you guys, it's only day 3. Maybe you're in a mood. You need to start being nicer. This is rough.
And we've said this before, and we'll say it again. Do not make us just like unequivocally root for a man. This goes against our core belief system.
No matter how nice Josh is, we really are feeling uncomfortable with the situation, Catie. Step it up.
We are now going to discuss Thomas and Paula. And the first thing I want to mention is, you know, before each segment starts, there's like a coming up next because 90 Day is optimized for people with no short-term or long-term memory.
People are actively folding laundry as well, not looking at the TV.
It'll be like coming up next, and then you see it actually in 5 seconds. It's like, I didn't need the preview, but okay. But already in the preview, he was wearing a shirt that caught my attention. His t-shirt said Brazilian soul. The way I'm actually going to buy us shirts where yours says Korean soul and mine says German soul. Anyway, so classic 90 Day thing, waking up in bed together, talking about the fact that they had sex. Don't care, skip.
God, ew.
Then we're brought into a little ritual that they have, which would be cute, except that it's weird when they do it, which is that they both make each other breakfast.
Never heard of that.
I never heard of that either because it's like, and they even point out that it's like not efficient because it's the same amount of work as just making your own breakfast. Like the point of like taking turns would be like one person doesn't have to do any work, but now they both have to do work. And also like they take turns cooking, so one of them has cold food.
Oh my God.
So it's just kind of weird.
But they were telling it and like smiling. I think that they like this about themselves and it's fine. It just is kind of funny.
It is funny. And it's a cute in theory, but it just feel like in execution it has issues.
Yeah.
But he wants eggs for breakfast, which of course need to be cooked in beef tallow.
Girl.
And I will say he does openly admit to being on the paleo diet. I thought carnivore, but paleo is, you know, I knew he was on something, some man diet, which he says is for his Crohn's disease. And I believe he has Crohn's disease, and I'm all for doing what it takes to work with your body. That being said, he says pretty much the only thing he can eat is red meat. And I will say I've never heard of any health condition that is improved by eating mostly red meat.
What if it turns out in addition to his Crohn's disease, he just has anemia?
Maybe, but I just thought it was kind of funny. I don't know, like I just think it's kind of funny to brand it as red meat being the best thing. I've just never heard that that's the best thing for your body ever. If it's the best thing for his specific body, fine, but I still feel a whiff of male podcast in the air. So he needs his eggs cooked in beef tallow. And Paula, who has volunteered to make his breakfast, agrees if she can use like a bandana or something to cover her face. And he, as a joke, brings her a gas mask, but then she like actually wears it.
It was hilarious.
Very funny visual. I will say they then bring their food to the floor table and he has the audacity to say it's like Japan.
So the way we clock that so hard, our discernment is so good. I also just have to say, as someone who's been to, not to brag, as someone who's been to Japan many times, this is not like Japan. Get her name out your mouth, Thomas.
I know. I appreciate at least Catie and Josh did not invoke Japan when they sat on the yoga mat on the floor. While they're sitting on the floor table eating their breakfast, Paula starts crying because she says it's a dream come true, which is sweet. But then, like, I don't know. I'm getting mixed messages from them because in the next scene, they have this massive, crazy conflict. Like, I truly feel it's crazy on both sides, which is that Paula is in the bathroom getting ready for the day, and she puts allegedly 2 little dabs of perfume on. And Thomas from the other room is like, did you just put perfume on? And he says he's super allergic to perfume, and he like runs out of the apartment onto the balcony to get fresh air. And look, I will say, if he was able to detect it from a different room, there is something to be said for him being sensitive towards it.
how strong would this perfume have to be to like immediately smell it from the other room? Like, I don't know. The logistics of this are very confusing to me.
I agree. And basically, Paula says that she's not willing to compromise on wearing perfume because it's a cultural thing for her. And again, this is this kind of thing where it's like, I don't know, maybe it's cultural. I feel like I would want to prioritize my partner's well-being if like he really does have an allergy and like is in pain, as he's saying. I thought that was kind of an odd thing to be like, well, I have to wear perfume because I'm from Brazil. But I'm curious to hear your friend's input as a Brazilian.
So my Brazilian friend Mari says that perfume is not really a part of the culture in that way. Being clean is, and perfume can kind of factor into that symbolically. But she says that even for her as a Brazilian, if she were to think of a culture that's into perfume, she'd think way more of people from Arab countries or even France. So she's like, no, that's not really like notably a thing about Brazil. And then she does say that perfume is more often used when going out versus wearing it every day like other cultures. So it seems like this is total bullshit from Paula.
It's also interesting because it's one thing if she were providing her cultural background as context of like, it's going to be hard for me to adjust because I'm so used to wearing it every day. But she's using it as well, no, I'm entitled to wear it because it's my culture, which I thought was super weird.
It's like armor against that. And it also reminds me so much of what we were saying literally last episode of like, just because something is cultural doesn't make it right. And it doesn't mean that your partner has to adapt to it. But the fact that this is not even cultural is like, it's so clear she's just being defensive and using it as an argument.
And so then she's like, wow, you have such a strong sense of smell. Like you must be an X-Man. Marvel should call you. And he gets really upset and he is like, you're not taking me seriously. And he really is emotional because he is like, I actually have an allergy. Like I'm in pain and you're laughing at me. And like, this was really uncomfortable to watch, honestly.
I hated the way that she was like demeaning him. And she continues, she keeps going on and having these little comments. And she's like, how someone can smell something kilometers away. It's a skill. No, really, it's a skill. I'm not, and I was like, Paula, you're being demeaning.
And then Thomas says he will leave if she keeps using the perfume. And I have to give Thomas credit for something which I actually wanted to bring up in the context of a different couple, which is that Thomas is one of the few people who seems to understand what a boundary actually is, in that you can't enforce other people's behavior. You can just set a consequence for, if you do this, I will do this. Yeah. And so he's like, if you keep wearing perfume, I cannot stay in this home. I will have to leave and live somewhere else. And she's like, really like, oh my God, that's crazy just because of perfume. And then he like goes to the bathroom and gets her little perfume. And he's like, I'm throwing it out. And she's like, don't throw it away. At least I could like give it to someone else. He gets super glue and super glues that shit closed.
Okay, that's where he lost me. Because I was like, Thomas, that is, I don't know. He really had me in the first half where I was like, you know what? I think it's a little bit extreme to like essentially be threatening to like leave someone over this. I mean, I understand what you're saying about it's a clear boundary. Yes. And I think it's good to keep it. But like, I think that the way he even said that was a little bit mean. Like, I felt that she was being demeaning to him, but I also felt like she was a little bit embarrassed.
It was not a good conversation. I mean, it was not a good fight. It was both people were
doing too much.
But I think the place where I have sympathy for Thomas, and again, it means a lot for me to be erring more on the side of a man. Like it really means something for me to be doing that. I felt like what I could appreciate about what Thomas was saying is he was like, I'm in physical pain. Like I cannot be physically present if this is happening.
Yeah.
And I did feel, again, it kind of reminds me as well of the Catie situation where it's like, I don't understand, like your partner's saying that they're experiencing pain and you're just like, too bad.
Yeah, I disagree with it. And you're like,
yeah.
To Thomas's point, he kept saying, and maybe this is part of why he got so emotionally escalated so quickly, is he was like, you knew this. You know this. Why would you do this when you have all the information? Why'd you even bring the perfume? He's like, who are you planning to wear this for if not me? You can't wear it around me, so why even bring it? Like, this is so frustrating. And I totally agree. Like, that actually, you know what? That actually would piss me off too. I don't know if I hope I wouldn't act exactly the way that he did, but like, to your point, even if he didn't say it perfectly, I actually understand his logic more.
Because I get what he's saying, because he first tried asking. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, if you ask someone and they just don't respect your wishes, then you do have to escalate to setting some sort of boundary, and so I don't know. I got where he was coming from. I did think they both went to an emotional place very quickly. Yeah. In a way that I feel didn't necessarily need to be done. But by the end, they just both lost me because why was he pouring super glue in her perfume?
Like, that's so mean.
I know. And then also, why was she just like refusing to take him seriously at all? It was just like,
you're both stupid.
They really lost me with this.
I will say, though, I was pleasantly surprised that these people have drama because we thought that they were going to be totally boring. This shit was fucking crazy to watch. I was like, wait, why is there super glue?
I do love niche drama, too, where it's like, ooh, super glue's involved, you know, like.
I've never seen that before on reality TV. I love the creativity. Up next, we have Marissa and Edward. We start the section with Edward on the phone with his family in the Dominican Republic. And Marissa is like, I don't know how to describe it. She's like looking stressed while he's on the phone and she's kind of motioning to him to like be quiet or like stop. And he hangs up and she's like, come on, like you have to help me make dinner for the kids. And then she kind of is like, why do you always have to take your phone calls super loud with no headphones on? And he says it's because Dominicans are loud. And I'm like, no, it's because you didn't wear headphones. It doesn't matter if y'all are loud if you're wearing headphones.
People need to really be more serious about how annoying and grating it is to hear a phone call over like a grainy speakerphone.
Something about that is so fucking activating. What is that?
I don't know, but it's like those like coyote alarms or whatever like go into your brain. I really hate that.
Yeah, it's like the tinniness of it. I totally agree.
Also, the other thing she did mention is that they're always on speakerphone and video. And I will say, I'm sorry, I'm such a Marissa defender all the time, but like,
this is a Marissa Stan podcast.
I would be also annoyed if like I'm just doing something and then there's like a camera in my face, like, because you know he's doing that thing of like, oh, and there's Marissa, I bet. And she's like, do we have to be on video all the time? Like, I actually get that.
You're right. This is probably not the first time, to be fair. In a couple interview, Edward tells the camera that Marissa is very bossy. And she says that's true. Like, she acknowledges it. But she says that she doesn't want to be the boss all the time. There's an unfortunate comment where Edward says that he's the boss in the bedroom and leave me out of it. Marissa's son comes into the kitchen and kind of does this cute little prank on Edward with this little box that he has to open, and then there's like a fake cockroach in it or something like that. And Edward kind of laughs and he likes it, and he says that he has something for the two of them. And he comes back with his fists closed, and he says that he has two things in his hand and the kids have to select it. And one of the boys, Cole, picks one hand and he opens it, and it's $50 cash that Edward gives to Cole. And the other boy, Derek, opens the other hand and there's another $50 each. I thought it'd be really funny if the other one just got nothing. Hilarious.
A spider.
But luckily, Edward is not me, so he gave equal gifts. But Derek refuses it and is kind of like not into this in an interesting way. And in an interview with the camera, Derek says that he doesn't like taking money from people because he feels like he'd owe it back.
I didn't think that was what he said. I didn't think he said because he would owe it back.
Oh, did I take the wrong note? What do you have?
My understanding was what he said is that he's like, he knows if he gave $50 to someone, he would be like missing that $50. And so he feels bad. My understanding was, especially because this was the child who'd been asking questions in the first episode or whatever episode it was about, you know, does he have money? And Marissa explained he doesn't have a lot of money compared with how much money that they have, and that he was asking, will he have an allowance, etc. My understanding was that Derek understood that Edward doesn't have very much money and therefore felt bad and thought it was the polite thing to do in a way to refuse it, which obviously backfired a bit because
Edward felt bad then.
It hurt Edward's feelings that he didn't accept the gift.
Oh.
I just thought it was painful because I felt like both people were actually trying to do something kind and then kind of both ended up feeling weird, you know?
Money is tricky. It's interesting to see a kid have this much awareness of money, I feel like. While his mom has a lot of money, I was kind of like, why is he so aware of money? Because in general, I feel like rich kids are a little bit oblivious because it's just not a huge factor in like what they can and can't do. But I just remembered that their dad doesn't have a ton of money. So I'm sure that their dad is very aware and they've gained an awareness through that.
Also, a few other things. Derek asked his mom, he was like, did you give him the money to give me? And she said no. And that I think made him feel even like weirder about it. But also later, Marissa mentioned that Derek feels comfortable taking money from his maternal grandparents, for example, who are very rich. But like he's just kind of aware of like who has money and who doesn't. And he feels weird taking money from people, which I think is a really sweet thing. And like, it is always awkward when people give you a gift you feel they can't afford.
Yes.
And I feel like even I as an adult, like it can be an awkward feeling. Yeah. And I have to imagine it's even more confusing for a little kid. So I feel bad that he tried to be kind and ended up inadvertently hurting Edward's feelings, you know?
I know. It's kind of sad here. But they all sit down to dinner and it's a little bit awkward. Like, I don't know, the conversation just isn't really flowing between, especially I feel like Edward and the boys. And they just kind of like the boys just kind of want to leave the table. They're like, can we go yet? Can we go yet? And Marissa's like, not done. We're still eating. And at one point they show like Edward asking them if they have girlfriends, and they react kind of negatively to this. They're like, what? And I wonder if this is like a cultural difference. I don't know anything about the Dominican Republic, but I feel like questions like that, they're not really acceptable in like white American culture, I would say.
At that young age.
It's weird. Yeah. So I was feeling for Edward because like I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming maybe that's not like an awkward question where he's from, because I think he has good intentions. But like he just kept flopping this whole evening, and I was like, oh, poor Edward.
Or even like he was like, I'd love to cook you guys Dominican food, and Marissa's like, oh, they're not going to eat that, and he's telling them about it, and it's like, sorry, the things he lists are really innocuous. He says chicken, rice, beans, and they're like, beans? We don't want to eat beans. It's just like, no bids were accepted here. It was just like one flop after another. It was incredibly uncomfortable.
You know, I also didn't like Marissa saying like, oh, well, Cole's not going to eat that. I'm like, Marissa, give your children some room to, they're young. Like they can open their mind. And also I feel like they'll like put in their heels a bit, be like, yeah, I won't eat that food. Like you're setting them up for this conversation too, making them think that this isn't something they're going to like. So, and they trust you as their mom, you know? I just didn't love that.
Literally one of my least things about American culture is picky kid culture. Don't come for me if you have ARFID. I know that's a real thing, but the fact that literally in other countries, a kid's meal is just a smaller portion of an adult meal. And
Yes.
Here it's like, why are we eating chicken fingers at the sushi restaurant? I don't get it.
Don't piss me off. Oh my God, me as a child, why did my parents let me do this? Me ordering scrambled eggs with ketchup on top and a side of rice at a Korean restaurant as a child. What the hell?
You do not deserve that Korean soul t-shirt.
I really don't. It's so gaggy that as an adult, I moved to Korea and love Korean food now. Because like as a kid, the fact that I was eating fucking Southern scrambled eggs with ketchup, idiot.
Can I tell you an anecdote about me as a kid, just to be competing with you? One time I went to an Italian restaurant with my parents and some of their friends. I think I was probably like 9 or 10. I ordered carpaccio. I didn't know what it was. And all the adults were really impressed with me because I ate all that carpaccio. And then they said, oh, Sophie, how did you like the carpaccio? And I said, it was a little rare for my taste. Okay? You guys are not even eating beans. I was out here eating raw meat. Get on my level.
God, we were annoying children. Basically, in the next section with Marissa and Edward, it's now morning time the next day. And Marissa's getting the kids ready for school, and they're on like a tight timeline, as you are. And Edward is like late getting out to the car with them because he hasn't put his shoes on, and whatever. It's not a big deal, but like Marissa's definitely annoyed about this. And then like, because he's late, Derek, one of the boys, is sitting in the front passenger seat, and Edward opens and he's like, oh, I can't sit here. And Marissa's like, oh, well, no. One thing about Derek is like, he never gives up that seat. And then Edward's sitting in the back and he's like, okay, so one day when I get my license and I'm driving, you're just going to let him sit up there and you're going to sit in the back like I am. And he kind of ate her up with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to criticize as someone who is not a mother. Like, and I think that Marissa is doing a fantastic job overall. Like, I really don't want to like nitpick, but I don't love when parents are like, especially with young children, they're like, well, that's just his rule. Like, that's how.
You feel it was like permissive parenting?
I thought that it was a little bit permissive in a way I didn't love.
I thought it was sweet of her to allow certain traditions to continue for now.
Okay, I hear that. That's a good point.
I mean, I feel like there maybe would have been a middle ground of like, okay, like, you know, and don't forget, like, tomorrow Edward gets a turn. You know what I mean? Like, or like, but I feel like that is a thing that as a kid, if I was used to sitting in a seat and then it's like, oh, mommy has a boyfriend, you can't sit there anymore, that would be upsetting for me. So I could appreciate that.
That's honestly a good point.
If it's one isolated thing, I mean, I think it would be weird if she's consistently like letting the kids do whatever, but I do appreciate that the kids are having to only minimally alter their lives to welcome this new person to the family.
And he snoozed, he loosed. So
he did, honestly. And like, this is another thing that we do see on this show sometimes is like, I think the perils of, and they even talked about this, like meeting someone on vacation.
yeah.
You just don't know what they're like in their everyday. And I feel like especially one thing we've seen is women who they have a super busy life at home and vacation is the one time they unplug and they seem chill because they're like sitting on the beach drinking a cocktail.
Yeah.
And then these men come back with them and expect them to like be in vacation mode at home.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is oftentimes a source of friction.
I agree. So they drop off the kids, and in the car, it's just the two of them now, and they're driving home. And Marissa brings up something, but kind of delicately. She's like, hey, like, I want to talk to you about something, but like, basically, I forget exactly how she said it, but she's like, I don't want to be a bitch, but like, can I talk to you about something? And she expresses that she's a little irritated because he's always on his phone. For example, it seems like that's why he was late getting into the car, because he was kind of like dallying. And then he's like, wait, I haven't put my shoes on. And it's like, dude, yeah, like, you have to move quickly in the morning and be present. And he also wasn't helping like pack the lunches or like whatever she has to do. He was just kind of sitting there drinking his coffee while she's doing everything.
In the meantime, she's like, okay, boys, pack your lunch. But like, there is a lot happening, and he's just sitting in the middle of it, not doing anything.
Yep. And looking at his phone. So it's not even like he's observing and learning what she's doing so that he can help the next morning. So I get her bringing this up. And she says that it makes her feel like he's not present or helping out enough. And it makes her feel like it's basically a relaxed time for him and work time for her. And she's like, I know you hate when I say this, but it makes me feel like I have another kid. And I really commend Marissa for being so direct. And I felt that she expressed everything emotionally honestly, but I did not feel that she was mean.
I agree. I thought she was fair. I mean, these are all the things too where it's like, I just think it's really hard when you are in a position like Marissa is, where she has a successful career, a family structure that works well for her. You don't want a partner to come in and make your life harder. You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
So I really get this.
Absolutely. I get it too. And he's like, okay, but I just got here. Like, I'm just figuring everything out. And she's like, I know, but I just need to see a little bit more initiative from you. And again, I think that's fair. And in an interview, Edward basically says something that I'm not surprised by, but he says that if she needs help, she should ask him for it and like tell him what to do. And I'm like, a tale as old as freaking time. The man being like, well, just this concept of like,
just make me a list.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. You just have to tell me exactly what to do. And it's like, I'm a little bit conflicted about this because I know that that's an existing dynamic in many straight couples. And it's really toxic over time and like honestly leads to many breakups. Like it really is not good because as an adult, you should be able to like, as she said, like take initiative, like use your own brain, figure out how you can help, etc. And also certain things like, how to do the dishes, how to take out trash. Like, yeah. That said, and this wasn't explicitly brought up right now, but just looking at everything in general, I give Edward a little bit of grace here because Marissa is so particular with how she likes things taken care of in the home. So I wouldn't blame him if the situation is that he is like, I don't know, doesn't know how to help out in the morning because he's like, it seems like she has a really regimented way of doing it. And like, I don't want to come in and like derail the schedule she has set up. So I would understand if that's a situation that wasn't expressed, but like, I'm just putting out there, like, I actually with this particular relationship understand a little bit of trepidation from his side on like, I don't want to fuck things up. She has like a really militaristic way she does things and that's fine.
Or I think if he had said something along the lines of, I see you have your system. Let me get out of the way. I'd love to learn the system, but I feel like today's not the day for me to learn. Let me get out of the way. I'll be ready to go when you need me. You know what I mean? Like
he's standing by the door with his shoes on or something.
Yes. I think it was the fact that not only was he not helping, but he wasn't like contextually clued in enough to even recognize like there's a rush. They're trying to leave. And like, it was this small moment, but he's like, wait, I need to put my shoes on. And she's like, can you just put like flip-flops on? Because he's like slowly putting each sock on.
Oh my
like,
God.
That would have pissed me the fuck off. And I think this is a thing too that like she didn't explicitly say, but I'm going to say, if you're not going to make her life easier, at least don't make it harder. Don't be slowing him down. Yeah. So that's kind of where I struggle. As much as I can understand him being like, she needs to explain everything to me because she does it her own separate, or like her own unique way, which I get. Like the way she makes her bed is her own way. I get that. Like a big pet peeve of mine is this like boomer cluelessness vibe where like, you're like standing in someone's way. You have no spatial awareness. Like that shit pisses me off. And that was his energy, just like standing in the kitchen on his phone while so much was happening around him.
Yeah.
And like, I think that just makes you feel, if you're a Marissa, that you don't have a partner who's like proactive and like aware. And I think that would be frustrating for me.
I agree. I really do believe in Edward, though. I believe in his ability and their ability as a couple to like get over these difficulties.
I think so too.
I'm not seeing anything like fundamentally concerning.
Me either. I just always feel like this is a specific thing that I find annoying. I'm not saying horrific or not something you can overcome or anything, but just like this thing of like, you were more fun on vacation.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's, for some reason, it's a very gendered thing because I feel like it's like in these family settings, like typically the woman is the one who's just like making everything run smoothly. And it's like, yeah, she can't afford to be fun. She can't afford to like, I mean, I will say I'm curious to see what their life is like on the days she doesn't have the kids with her. But especially in these contexts, it's like, yeah, of course, when she was on vacation, she was different. I don't know why men sometimes like can't envision that it's not the same in real life.
I know.
And to be fair, I think Edward is a good sport. He takes things in stride. I think he wants to learn and get better. But I do know the specific language he said, like, he's like, I just can't guess what she needs. Like, she needs to tell me what she needs. That is just like such a clear gendered pattern of like devaluing emotional labor, expecting so much more of the mental load to fall on the woman.
And it's like learned helplessness of like, I can't possibly figure something out until it's told to me directly. And it's like, well, that's not true. You're a smart person. I think that you can figure that out.
Yes. And I think I would be able to believe that more as a dynamic if he were like, I want to help with this, but I don't know where the XYZ is, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Whereas he's just sitting there not doing anything. So all I'm saying is I don't think Edward's evil. I think he's a sweet guy. I think he has good intentions. And it's also clear he's not ever been like in a household role like this where so much is happening.
True. Yes. But I believe in them. I think they can make it. They're this season's Juan and Jessica for me. I'm like, I believe in them, but I believe in them more than Juan and Jessica.
Me too. And I like them a lot. And I like what I've seen online of Marissa really taking things in stride. I guess part of the reason I feel like I'm a little more pro Marissa is it's just like Marissa's been getting so much shit online for things that I feel are so unfair. And like even her worst traits that we've seen, I can completely understand where it comes from.
Yeah, they're also not evil. Like the way that people have so much more smoke for her than for Shea, a serial cheater and
general piece of shit.
Yeah, general piece of shit. Like I'm like, okay, sorry, she's a little bit bossy because that has served her in her life and like whatever. It just like people obviously are so much harder on women. And I'm not saying it means you cannot criticize Marissa at all. Of course you can. But I hate also the way that people are so quick to like jump to like attacking her physical appearance or like it just I find it really quite disgusting. I think it's straight up sexist.
Totally. People are really unkind to her in this really misogynistic way. And she's like one of the only people on the show so far where like every single action she's done, I'm like, yeah, I can completely follow that. Like maybe it's not the best outcome, but like I completely get where she's coming from, you know? So like that's my girl, Marissa. I feel the need to defend her a little bit extra, you know?
That's literally fam. Back off my sister.
Yeah. So the last couple is Mallorie and Raşit. This was such a short segment. I don't even know why they included it, to be honest.
I know. I almost just want to push it to next week, but we'll touch on it.
We're picking up at the White Trash Bash where Raşit is finally having this confrontation with Brandon that was teased last week. And it's so dumb. I can sum it up in 3 seconds. Raşit tells Brandon that he can't be friends with Mallorie. He can't contact her anymore. He needs to delete her number. Brandon basically says no. And, like, it's funny. Raşit's like, that's my boundary. You can't call her. And again, this is where I'm like, you don't know what a boundary is. Like, that's not how that works.
Your boundary isn't what other people can do.
Yes. And then Raşit says, I'm a boss in my house. She must listen to me. Again, don't love.
No. Also, not true. Not once has a man ever been the boss of the home. Just shut the fuck up. Often they think they are, but it's literally never been the case.
I know. And then Brandon says a very interesting thing, which is, quote, I'm like the government. Me and taxes, we're here forever. Which surprises me because Brandon seems like the kind of person who, like, doesn't believe in taxes.
He's like, they keep hounding me for them.
Yeah, I know. Nothing more to say here, honestly. This should have been in last week's episode. It was such a nothing.
Yeah, just like Raşit storms away while Brandon says he'll keep calling Mallorie, you can't tell me what to do.
The problem is I don't like either of these people, so I'm like, I actually don't care what the outcome of this conversation is, you know?
Yeah.
I don't like Raşit speaking on Mallorie's behalf. We know Mallorie did not agree to this, so I think it's really weird behavior to go like setting rules for the people in your partner's life.
And behind her back.
Yeah, I think that's freaky behavior. And also Brandon scares me, low-key, because he seems to have aggression problems. So
yeah,
Mallorie, I think neither of these options are great. We should probably, I don't know.
I want her and Debby to leave their men and hang out and get like, I don't know.
Start a compound with Little Bit.
Yes! Little Bit and all 4 of Mallorie's dogs.
I see it. I see it.
Oh my God. And then Catie comes over and takes care of them. Aw.
Yeah.
Sweet. I love that.
But then Katie's going to get mad at them for having too much furniture or something. So anyway, that's that.
That's the shortest section we've ever done.
I feel like it's the shortest section we've ever seen on the show too. That's all for this week. Thank you as always for tuning in. Please, wherever you're listening, follow us, give us a rating, 5 stars, please. Leave a comment, whatever. We love hearing from our listeners. And also, please feel free to follow us on social media at MyBestViewPod. And we'll see you next week.
See you all then. Bye.
Bye.